Today for the message time, we're going to be hearing from Jessy Pfarrkircher, and she will tell you some about herself. But she grew up here in this church, and she went into ministry with YWAM, Youth with a Mission. She married her husband, Toby, who is from Germany, and they've been living there in the recent past and doing all sorts of exciting missions work, and now involved in Bible translation, which is a extremely important thing to get the Word of God to people in their language so that they can grasp it and understand it. So this is going to be an exciting time to hear from Jessy about what God is doing through them in their missions work.
Hello, welcome to Mission Sunday. So glad to be here. My name is Jessy Pfarrkircher. I think Pastor Seth shared an introduction before. Yes, it's very wonderful to be back here. This is my home church where I grew up since I was a kid, and it's just so good to come back and see some familiar faces and just get to share what we've been doing on the mission field. So just a little bit of catch up from where we were. We've been in YWAM for now about 16 years. And the last time we were here was about 3 years ago, so 2021. And got to share a little bit about what we've been doing since then. And so a little bit of update. My husband, Toby, who's German, has been pioneering the base in Berlin. And we handed that over in December of 22. So that was a good 15 years of pioneering in Berlin on the hard parts. And we've been praying for many years to pass that on to someone else. And so we were able to do that. And then summer of last year, so July 23, we packed up and moved, left Berlin, said goodbye, and headed off into, not the unknown, but a new phase, so to speak. So for the past 7 years, I have been involved with Bible translation within YWAM. And in 2017, I started a master's in applied linguistics for Bible translation with the University of the Nations, which is the umbrella university within YWAM, where YWAMers can get credit, do certain courses in different countries to earn AA degrees, BA, and now we're up to earning masters. So from there, we started to see a new trend happening where oral Bible translation was a felt need in the translation world. So we were able to jump on board with that, and we ran an oral Bible translation school, our first one in 2018, and one of my colleagues led that. And in 2021, I got to join in and lead also what was called a mega OBT. We were running 5 locations simultaneously. So South Africa, Papua New Guinea, Nigeria, Luzon, and Kona, Hawaii. We were all on board tracking with each other and teaching and learning at the same time. How can we, as YWAMers, be a part of this oral Bible translation movement? Well, that was 3 years ago, so it was right after, I should say, we were here last time. And it's just been a huge learning curve since then. It's been great, it's been challenging, but we've seen so many good things that God has been doing in that time. So what does this mean, oral Bible translation? Well, when I started our master's course, our teacher was with Wycliffe, had been with Wycliffe Global Alliance for 40 years. He was a consultant on the field, translator, and working with a tribe in Chile. And he was starting to see a trend, how the mother tongue speakers, so the native speakers that he was learning the language from, he was seeing that they were able to do a lot of the work that he was trained to do. But it was almost easier for them because they were already native speakers. They knew the language. That was a big part of his learning curve. So he was starting to think, well, what if we could train new people differently? Instead of being translators, what if they could be trained to be facilitators? So helping the mother tongue speakers in a project to get the Bible background, to learn the story, to hear all about the Bible so that they can find the right words in their mother tongue, in their native language, so that they can be the translators. So this was the idea behind my training. So 2017 that started, and then 2021 we were finally putting together some schools and trying to see what we as YWAMers could do in this area. Now, YWAM is not typically known for translation. We've been very good with distribution. We have bases in about 220 countries in the world and even more workers. So the last number I heard was about 30,000 staff worldwide. So we are able to be in many different places and help be feet on the ground, or boots on the ground, so to speak, to get things where they need to go. And we've been really partnering with other organizations to get that done. Well, now we are kind of stepping into this new area of translation, and that is only possible, really has been possible through God's movement, God's hand on a lot of things. We've seen a trend in the last decade or so where other organizations are sharing their data, sharing their information, which has not happened before. They are seeing where two organizations have been working at the same time, and then other people, oh, there's a hole over here, we need to fill that. So it's been really good to see unity in the body of Christ in this collaboration effort. They've also seen a trend, as I said before, to meet the needs of the oral cultures. So much of the written translations have been done, and working with the New Testament. It's not meaning that they're complete by any means, but that many of them are started. So now it's been a shift also in these organizations to see how can we reach these oral cultures. And so part of our training has been how can we as YWAMers help to meet that need. So part of our training has been digging into the Hebrew language, and some of my colleagues are actually in Israel right now taking an immersive Hebrew course so that they can be helpful in the translation of the Old Testament. Which is really exciting. I wish I could do that, but it can only be in so many places at once. But we really want to help prepare ourselves so that we can be instrumental in helping support this translation movement. So how is that working? Well, we have some amazing translators within YWAM. There's a couple, my leaders, Marcia and Edson Suzuki, they're Brazilian. They've been working in the Amazon for the last 20 years. Not the last 20 years, but for about 20 years in about the 90s and early 2000s. And they were also seeing a trend with an oral group where they said, we don't want a written version. We want to hear it sung. We believe that God speaks to us through song. So they were challenged. How can we meet this need? What would this look like for this culture? So that has started a process of thinking and trying things out. And we have in the last few years come up with a new method, so to speak, called storality. Storification has become like storality. So story and orality. Basically going back to telling the Bible through stories, which was how it was originally shared. Later, the technology of writing helped to put it in words and to make it consistent throughout the generations. But for the oral cultures that never learned to read or write and may never value that in their culture, then we were trying to think, how can we meet this need faster? And so we are training ourselves. In this last year, I was leading another oral Bible translation school within YWAM in Lausanne, Switzerland, and implementing this storality method. So basically, we sat and we listened a good chunk of the time. Now that's hard for us Westerners to just listen and not want to write things down, not try to take notes or anything. But it's amazing to learn how much you can actually remember by just listening. I still have to work on this myself, actually. But we are getting into the story by hearing it over and over again. We are connecting ourselves to the story on the mind level. We're figuring out the words, the details. We're connecting to it from a heart level. We're feeling the emotion as we are putting ourselves into the story as an eyewitness would do. And then we are embodying the story. So we're basically learning the story so well that we can actually share it, just as the storytellers do in their culture. So we are training ourselves as facilitators to learn in the method that these oral cultures just do naturally. This is just a part of their culture. So it has been a huge learning curve, so to speak. I'm still learning quite a bit. Actually the beginning of this year, we took what we've learned and put it into practice right away. So my family and I were able to go to North Africa for about 6 weeks early this year, and to see how we could put what we've learned into practice. So we knew of a refugee language that's taking refuge in North Africa, and we had some connections with one of the bases there. And through this, for the 6 weeks, after getting to know each other and figuring everything out, spent about 4.5 weeks, about 3 times a week, about an hour and a half, 2 hours each setting, going over the story of Jonah. And I was able to share it in English, and I had an Arabic version because this mother tongue speaker grew up speaking Arabic as well as his mother tongue, and he knew some English, so 3 languages. But in that time, we went through Jonah, we unpacked it, we talked about the details. Now, it was helpful. This mother tongue speaker was also a pastor, so he knew the story pretty well, so that was a big help. But we did simple things like, without using words, just drawing pictures of the sequence of what was happening in the story. And then you could follow that visually in your mind. And that's what we do as part of our training. That's what movie directors do when they're telling a story, when they're working on a movie. They storyboard it, so a picture of each scene. So that's kind of what we were doing as part of our practice. And what's exciting is that after about 4.5 weeks, we had a rough draft of the book of Jonah, the whole book of Jonah, 4 chapters, in his mother tongue. And it was amazing to see the process and how quickly he was able to learn it, but also how much he really wanted this for his tribe back in Sudan. It was just amazing to see the passion that he took. And this is what we're seeing around the world. When we empower these mother tongue speakers, these cultures, to be the experts, to say, hey, we can't do this without you. You guys are going to have to carry a bunch of the weight, a bunch of the work, but they want to, because they want to see their language survive. They want to see that God speaks to them too, in their mother tongue. I've heard stories of some of our colleagues that were saying, wow, I've never known God to see me as a person. They see themselves as like a second-class citizen because God doesn't speak their mother tongue. If God is so big, why doesn't he speak my language? I've heard that several times from different colleagues in different parts of the world, and even closer, like one of my colleagues, he's from Fiji, and he was doing a practice run with his uncle, who speaks the native language. Now, his uncle has been a Christian for 50 years, grew up in the church, learning English, learning the Bible, learning about God through English language and the English Bible. And so they were testing this practice on his uncle, and they were doing it through Zoom. So one session they sat down and they wanted his feedback, and he wasn't there at first, so they're like, okay, where did he go? And then he came back and sat down, and they could see he had tears in his eyes. So again, this guy has been a Christian for 50 years. He's listening to the story of Ruth in his mother tongue for the first time. And he said, we don't treat our women right. And that was the first time that he really realized that, because he had heard that in his mother tongue for the first time. I mean, this is powerful stuff. So these are the life-changing moments where we realize, yes, we're onto something. Lord, you are moving in this way. You are reaching these people in a way that they can receive it. And it is beautiful to see. It's beautiful to be a part of that. It's a humbling process. And it's also very exciting. So I'm very passionate about doing this and being able to promote it. So we are seeing about worldwide. Actually, I'm going to back up a bit. In 2020, YWAM made a big goal, had a big vision to start translation in about 1,000 oral languages, just purely oral languages, and have them started by 2025. Now, this goal was started pre-COVID, so there's been a few hiccups in there, quite a bit of time lapse where nobody could do much. But we still have that vision with these 1,000 oral languages. It's actually about 1,142, I believe is the exact number. And we are still trying to tackle. Most of these languages are in the 1040 window. So longitude, latitude wise, that's about where they're located. Several in the islands, several in Africa, and also Southeast Asia. But we are still working towards that. And now there, with all the different organizations, there are about 400 oral projects that have been started or are running right now. And YWAMers Worldwide, we're part of about 100 of those, which is exciting to see that we play a part and that we are recognized. So I've been able to be a part of this, part of the training, and now some of the boots on the ground, the practice, and which is one of the reasons why we are here. So after we were in North Africa earlier this year, we've been in contact with the Salem base for about a year. They've had a language on their heart, a native language from the area, Kalapuya, which we have since learned is pretty technically extinct, but we went out to the Grand Ronde Cultural Center, which is near Spirit Mountain Casino, right over there, and there's some Kalapuya tribal people still there, but they're part of the Grand Ronde Confederate, and they together, all these different tribes, speak Chinook Wawa, and we have some connections with some tribal members there that are very interested in seeing their language preserved, at least. And so we're trying to see what that could look like. So it's been a slow going process. We've been here about 6 weeks, and we've met a couple people, taken a couple steps, but we are also really not wanting to push it on them. One of the big hearts behind this is that we want to be respectful, we want to be honoring, and we don't want to repeat past mistakes. So I've also been told that this is a very thoughtful tribe and don't just do anything rash or quickly. So checking back on them every now and then, seeing how they're doing, see how the progress is going. That's kind of the game plan right now. And we do have some people on the ground at the base that have connection and relationship with them. So we are trying to go through that to take further steps. So there's a potential for a project to happen here, and I am also connected with some other colleagues in Montana, which is where my family will be going next month, to connect with some of the bases there that are a little bit further along in a language project process. They just need sometimes some understanding of how to start. So we're going to try to see what we can do about that and talk with them, give some pointers. It's really a lot about relationship and humility, and just really trying to serve these groups in the best way that we can, while bringing dignity and the love of Christ in everything that we do. So it's a kind of a long process sometimes, but it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding to see and hear the stories. My colleagues in Papua New Guinea, they are starting I think with 4 languages right now. Papua New Guinea has about 850 languages just in that country. So that's quite a bit of work. I think about 300 have been started on translation, but they're working locally with about 4 others. And just this year, I wanted to share this too. In March, so 2 months ago now, there were 3 different conferences in 3 different countries where about 400 people came together to learn about YWAM and to learn about translation and our role in that. So that was in Papua New Guinea, in Malawi, and in Brazil, all within about a week of each other. People, about 400 people within those 3 different places, were gathering together to encourage one another. Some of them were indigenous people that wanted to start a translation and see how that could happen. But just the support and just to see how we're collaborating together, working together, is just so on God's heart. And it's so encouraging and so exciting to see. So that is a rough idea of what we are doing this season. So I'm still part of training and part of trying to get some projects started. We are trying to train facilitators, especially within YWAM. Part of it is like getting over that idea, I have to be an expert in everything. No, there's many schools and many things within YWAM that we are already doing well. It's like a lot of connecting the dots. We have frontier missions on our hearts. We have learning the Bible in a deeper way. We have Bible schools in that. We have worldview schools. We have community development schools running as well. And all of this plays a role into how we can serve people on the field as facilitators in translation projects. And during the process, we're seeing the engagement with the Bible happening because communities are hearing for the first time these stories from the Old Testament, from the New Testament, and they're asking questions. They're starting Bible studies, and I'm hearing stories of people giving their lives during this translation process because this is the first time they've heard God's word in their heart language. We sometimes don't know what that's like because we've had the Bible for over 400 years. How many versions, how many translations, how many concordances or extra supplementary tools do we have to study the Bible even more? But they don't have anything. So it's just humbling to to be a part of that process and see the hunger and desire. And it's also challenging me too. How much do I read the Word? How much do I dive into it and see the life-changing effect it has? So hopefully that could be an encouragement to you as well to really cherish what we have. It's an amazing, amazing book that has survived thousands of years. And just the way that it was put together and is still surviving and still has so much power to speak into our lives today. It's just a wonderful tool that we have. And so I'm very grateful to be a part of this. I'm so grateful for all of you that are here today. And thank you so much for sharing, for supporting us in what we're doing. It really means a lot to us. We're really blessed by you guys. Every time I see that donation come in, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to have a church that's behind us, supports us, that loves us, and are just serving in this way. So just wanted to give you a little picture of what we missionaries are doing. There's so many others that are on the field doing various aspects of serving the Lord where they're at. But I just wanted to share our piece, and thank you for your time. Thank you so much for loving us and blessing us as you have over the years. And we look forward to talking more with you when we get a chance. Thank you.